I'm Mike of Genuine Chit Chat. This is Spider Dan of Spider Dan the Secret Bores. We are reviewing Ladyhawke here at Forbidden Worlds Film Festival.
So, we are back this year on the press team at Forbidden Worlds 2026, and with the theme of myths and legends, and our very first film is a very interesting choice. It is Ladyhawke, one I've seen before, but one Mike hasn't seen.
Which is a common theme.
Yes.
That's going to be throughout this whole festival. I've only seen 2 movies, and one of them we're not watching again. So.
True. And there are some I've seen, but not many more than you. Not many.
This is the year I think you've seen the least.
I agree, yes. Yeah. Fantasy is not always the one I go to, the genre I go to.
I'm the same, oddly enough.
Not that I dislike it or not interested in it, but it's the one I don't tend to dabble in as much as I probably should.
No.
But yeah, I have seen some stuff. But Ladyhawke I have seen, directed by Richard Donner, produced by Laura Schuler Donner, who I often do confuse with Gail Ann Hurd, even though we met her.
Two powerhouse
and again,
producers.
married the directors as well,
Yes.
so that's why they cross over in my mind.
The Gail Ann Hurd roundtable interview we did last year.
Yeah, go check that out.
So
Links,
amazing.
show notes.
And lots of films that we did of hers.
Yes, and they had an oceanic theme, so different. But tell us a little bit about Ladyhawke. What did you think? What did you get out of it?
Yeah, so it's 1985, and I'd never even heard of it. When I think of Ladyhawke, I think of Hawk Girl from DC,
Okay.
who I also know very little
She
about.
is a Ladyhawke.
Yeah, but this film is really tight, which I really liked about it. A lot of fantasy films, as we'll get into when we talk about Excalibur, which we only finished like half an hour ago. When we get into Excalibur, that's a film which has got like 1 million characters and goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. Whereas Ladyhawke is really the opposite. Ladyhawke is the kind of fantasy that I generally gravitate towards, which is it's a really tight plot. It's got fantasy elements and things, but there's only really like 6 characters.
Yeah.
And you've got Matthew Broderick, who's a character. His nickname is Mouse. He's quite cool. You've got Rutger Hauer, who I didn't rate Rutger Hauer that much. In Blade Runner, I didn't rate him that much because I have mixed feelings.
Have you seen much Rutger Hauer?
Well, this is the thing. But in Hobo the Shotgun, he's amazing. That was like his last role ever.
Yeah.
So it's like one of them.
I'd recommend The Hitcher.
They played that for Forbidden Worlds one of the years.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, so I'd recommend The Hitcher. That's the first thing I saw him in.
Yeah.
And I don't want to tell you too much about that.
Yeah.
Just go out.
I know he's a great actor, but I saw Blade Runner. I was like, not for me. But then I saw Hobo the Shotgun. I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And then I think he has popped up in one other thing I've seen recently. But in this, he was really, really good. Then you got Michelle Pfeiffer, who obviously it's impossible not to know who she is. Absolute legend. And then you've got Alfred Molina in A Tiny Little Rock.
Yeah, as a kind of a trapper, wolf trapper.
But he's not even one of the main characters. He's barely in it.
No, he's like a cameo, extended cameo, really.
Yeah, and then there's the Bishop, who I don't know who the actor is.
I'm not familiar with.
And then there's also the best character in it, which is the monk, Tiberius.
Yes.
Imperius.
Imperius, yeah.
And he's amazing. But it's really that's pretty much all the characters that are like named with like proper roles.
Yeah.
And it's really following this guy, Mouse, who was in prison for pickpocketing, and he essentially escapes, and then he gets embroiled in this sort of fantasy-esque kind of love story, which is cursed. And it's really, really good. Like, it surprised me. Like, I think the less you know going in, the better, probably.
Spoilers, by the way.
We will do spoilers.
Tonya Todd spoiler warning.
Yes, we will do spoilers, but I think we'll give proper spoiler warning when we do like actual spoilers. Because the reveal is really obvious. I mean, the film's called Ladyhawke. Okay, there's a giant hint to what actually
what could that mean?
Yes, there's this man walking around and he has a hawk attached to him, and he talks about this lady. What could it? So, and I think when you get the reveal of what that's within about half an hour of the movie.
Yeah. It doesn't. What I like about kind of films like this is they don't they don't waste a lot of fucking time.
Yes.
You know, they just crack on.
That's my issue with fantasy.
Yeah, and I think that is a problem with sci-fi and with fantasy, like, and like a lot of the time they do it in like comics where it's like they're like, oh, aliens, I don't believe in aliens. I'm a super soldier and he's a demon and she's an angel, and it's like come on, fucking expand your mind a little bit. So I always hate those things like they're like, but this is the real world. Those things don't happen. I was like, she's a hawk, he's a wolf. Get on with it.
Yeah,
Tell me that story.
Literally, that's bam. You can tell if you watch the first 20 minutes of the film and you haven't picked that up, they literally then tell you like minute 25. So it's like that's not a spoiler.
No.
And again, it's called Ladyhawke.
Yeah.
But then it's really just it's like an adventure film, but it because it's so tight, you get invested in the characters.
Yeah.
And that's what I think a lot of fantasy films really lack a lot of the time. That's what I found with some of the ones we're going to review today.
Yeah.
Is like there's certain films where you go, this is this character's journey, but you don't care about the character at all. No. And there's what I always say is like, it's not enough to know that a character has been through hardship. You need to know what they like to do, and why you want to root for them. It's all like, God, they had a traumatic childhood. They were so. There's like,
they were abused.
But I need to know what music do they like, what makes them happy, what do they want in the future in life, you know? And I think with Matthew Broderick's character, immediately he talks to God.
Yeah,
but it's in a way which is it's quite wisecracking. It's quite funny, but also it shows who he is. It's basically his inner narration.
Yeah,
and so immediately I was brought in because I was like, okay, he's a wisecracking. He's very cheeky, and he pickpockets and he apologizes to God. He's like, God, if you get me out of this, God, I'll never do this again. And then literally next scene he does it. He goes, I know I said I wouldn't do it again, God, but you know me, God, you know me that I was going to break that promise. And I was like, that's really clever.
I think what's good about that as well is there's that whole opening section he practically pretty much spends alone, 100%. and I think that him talking to himself or talking to God, you know, and everything is doing a lot of heavy lifting,
100%,
before you need to get him interacting with people and escaping knights and stuff.
But that mixed with what the bishop's guards do and how ruthless they are, you don't need. I don't mean to like poop on Dragon Slayer or Excalibur, but like you don't need 20 minutes of exposition. No. You just go, there's a guy who pickpocketed. Someone said, he went down this drain, and they were like, where is he? Don't know. Right, we're going to kill you then. And immediately you go, okay, this is like overt fascism to the nth degree. You step out of line in any way by this religious bishop, he's going to kill you. Immediately.
And that's the thing, is they don't spend a lot of time with the villain.
Yes.
But I think that's for the benefit of the film.
100%.
Because I don't like. You know, it's effectively the Catholic Church. That's the villain is the Catholic Church. I'm sorry, but it is. And you said it reminds you
before.
I know. It's almost like they're not great. But like you were saying, it's like Judge Frollo from Hunchback of Notre Dame. It's a very similar kind of story. Like
he looks like Tarkin, Peter Cushing.
Yes,
absolutely. He talks a little bit like Palpatine in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah,
but he acts like Frollo in Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Good shout. But yeah, so I like that. I like that we don't spend that much time, but I by the end of it I was really pulled in. There's Michelle Pfeiffer and Rutger Hauer play again this tortured tragic love story, but they are not on screen for the entirety of the film until spoilers until a scene at the end. But their chemistry is incredible.
Yes.
Despite them not sharing any screen time.
It's a lot of what they don't say.
Exactly.
Which is really hard to do. But I think the script really works in this. And that's something that sometimes, I know script is always very, very important for films, but I think with this, especially the Matthew Broderick stuff, I think if you didn't have Matthew Broderick being cheeky enough and like it's not too serious, this film. But when you need seriousness, Rutger Hauer is a serious character, and that needs to be the case. Matthew Broderick is not. Michelle Pfeiffer, she's a lot more like warm. And then the monk character, Imperius, he's my favorite part of this film. Every time he's on screen, he is so funny.
Drunk, guilty, you know,
tortured soul,
wants to redeem himself, wants to help. But
like when they first meet, and literally he's like, when Matthew Broderick takes the wounded hawk to him, and he's like, I've got a bird for you. It's Lent over already. No. I was like, I've got a hawk for you. Oh, it's not to eat. Oh, well, we're back in Lent then. Is that what time it is? It's like, it was just really clever, a throwaway line. And I just think, again, there's one of the things, I mean, obviously I'm a big Star Wars fan, but I think one of the issues the sequel trilogy had was a lot of the characters, you didn't have dialogue that happened with them. that told you who they were.
Yeah.
I found with The Force Awakens, you had it with Poe Dameron and Finn in the cockpit of the TIE Fighter. That's one of the best scenes in the sequel trilogy because you don't need them to go, my name is Poe. I fly for the Resistance. My name's Finn. You go, bam, fast, quick, pace, interaction, bam, bam, bam. And that's when you find when characters bounce off each other a lot of the time or when they are narrating themselves in really limited times. And that's what I was just so surprised by how tight this movie was.
Never stops for a minute.
Nope.
Keeps going, keeps rolling on. The adventure is still ongoing. We learn about the characters gradually and in a genuinely kind of nice and bite-sized, kind of not forced writing way.
Yes.
Again, we're seeing who the characters are as opposed to them telling us who the characters are.
I was immersed immediately.
Yeah, absolutely.
It never felt like I was watching a movie in that sense.
Like, I'm not that kind of. I'm not one for like soppy romantic like stories and stuff and set in like forced sentimentality. But I was really like bought in the final scenes. I was like, oh my god, finally! Like I was getting kind of like emotionally invested because it's such a good film and is done so well. And I think Matthew Broderick does have some kind of modern. I think they cast him because he has some modern sensibilities, the way he acts. Obviously, the two lovers are very stoic and very classic, fantasy characters.
They're of their time,
of their era. And Matthew Broderick is kind of doing almost a Ferris Bueller-esque.
Yeah, he's the outcast, but he's like an outcast. He's a weirdo in thing. But in the context of the world, everyone's like, this guy's very different, whereas everyone else is normal and fantasy and
exactly. And I think it works and it lends itself, and I think it's an in for the modern audience to get into the fantasy
100%.
element of it, to buy into it. And again, like you said, there's comedy and there's quirky stuff and there's bits and pieces, but there is stakes and there's some real serious moments, and there are like the characters are crying and you're like, oh shit, I feel why you're there. I'm not crying, but I feel
personal stakes.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the biggest thing I found in the last few years, which is probably going to be a common theme of one of the things I don't like in the films as we go forward to a degree, is I don't like films, and especially Star Wars, when if we don't beat the baddie, the world's going to end. Yeah. I can't stand that. I'm just so sick. And Marvel fall into that trap horrendously. You need personal stakes. You need Tobey Maguire Spider-Man.
The multiverse.
Yeah, it means there's no stake. When everything's a stake, there's no stakes. Yeah. But when it's personal stakes, like Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, one of the reasons they work so well is because if the Green Goblin wins, it's just like Peter, Aunt May, and MJ get hurt. And that's really it. The whole of New York isn't going to get all destroyed. It's obviously Alfred Molina in the second one.
But that is Spider-Man's world. That is Peter Parker's world.
And I think it's more that the whole Sun thing is right at the end. Yeah. The majority of the Spider-Man 2 plotline is literally his personal stakes and losing his identity. And it's like, they're the things that we as people, we can connect with people. We can connect with relationships not working or feeling like an outcast or the hero's journey. What we can't connect with is if you don't beat this baddie, the entire world's going to end. Like, it doesn't really work. You need more to it than that. To make that work. But one thing you mentioned, that there's only really two more aspects I think to talk about, which is there's the score and the animal handling stuff. So I don't know if you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, I'll go with the animal handling.
Yes.
I thought there's some wonderful, again, like there's some moments, again, we've talked about like, animal cruelty recently and various other things, but I think they managed it. There was one shot I was a bit uncomfortable with a horse kind of falling over. It was a bit intense. It kind of fell back on it.
I think I was in the church.
It was, but again, it doesn't look too bad. But I'm still a bit like, ooh. But there's some lovely like falconry shooting and cinematography and shooting of the wolves as well in it and the black wolves.
Oh yes, I love
that. Some really gorgeous imagery. Just wonderful. And again, they will have specific people, like when we did The Abyss, there's a specific cinematographer who shoots underwater and knows how to shoot underwater.
Yes.
These guys are specifically, wildlife photographers that will have done that. But yeah, I thought was some wonderful stuff. I love the costuming as well. I think unlike Excalibur, which is very heavily armored, this is a good blend between the kind of tunic and fabrics while still having that armored element. And those visors I really liked from the helmet.
It's like the three
prongs.
They were cool. Yeah. So much squeaky leather. I literally the first thing I thought when I saw this
needs to grease them up. Get some lube on there.
First thing I thought when I saw this movie when it started with Rutger Hauer talking, because he's got like there's a falconry kind of level. You just hear like creak, and he's talking. It's really quiet, like intense scene where he's being very stoic, and you just hear creak, 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 and that kind of wrinkling of it. Of,
but also, I kind of don't mind that as well because
it's authentic.
Yeah,
You feel that you're there.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
It's like when you hear the footsteps of soldiers in armor. Like that's a really satisfying sound.
True. Yeah. Like Excalibur has a lot of that.
Excalibur's probably got
clinky, clanky. Yeah. More than most, I think. But
speaking of sound, so the composer for the music in this is Andrew Powell, and there was the person who spoke of Forbidden World
the Alan Parsons Project.
Yes.
Oh,
as well as a part of that, and it's like they were speaking about how it's quite interesting because there's a Philharmonic Orchestra that was for like half of it, and the other half of it was really electronic stuff,
like very much the action sequence.
It felt like John Carpenter-esque.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, and
very synthy.
I think that when it was the harmonic stuff, I was bought in. I love symphonies and orchestras and stuff like that, so I love that kind of sound. I thought the majority of the time the electronic stuff won. Personally, I don't think it fit. I know Donna felt the same. Yeah. I see why, and I can understand why people like it.
The producer and his wife didn't like it, and Rutger Hauer didn't like it. I didn't mind it, but I think they needed to. It almost started. They never like eased it in.
That's a good point. Yeah.
I think they should have eased it in, like fade it in.
Yeah.
But it was almost like it was so bombastic because it was just like, bow.
So did it. It's like,
bow. You know, all that, and which I was like, yeah, that's I get what you're doing. I get what you need, and you need the start of this film. I think does need a bit of pace.
Agreed.
I mean, it's a pacey film anyway, and which is to its credit. But I think because those first few scenes of Mouse alone and Broderick alone, mostly, I think you just need to get it going a bit more, and it is like music stops, bang 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 bang, and then music stops. For the next action scene. So absolutely get that. But I kind of didn't mind it. But like I mentioned to you as well, as we get further on in the film, they do start to mix it with more classical elements and blend it in.
And by the end,
those are amazing. By the end, there's strings, there's piano.
The final showdown bit in the church was awesome. I love the music of that. That music I want to look
wonderful
up.
set as well. That whole church set is amazing.
Oh yeah, because
pretty much all real church probably.
100%, because basically everything in this film is real.
Yeah,
I think there's like a tiny amount of like. Not quite CG, but like camera trickery. And
there's
transformation.
Special effects.
Outside of that, yeah. Outside of that, I was like, it looks great. That's one of the things about these fantasy movies in this era, sort of pre-90s or sort of early 80s and before, is that there wasn't really the ability to do computer-generated effects or anything. So like a lot of the stuff they do, it looks really good and it's quite timeless. And I think this movie, I'm surprised this movie isn't bigger. This for me may be the young Sherlock Holmes of the weekend. Obviously, we're only on day one.
Yeah, this is day one, guys. Day one.
But like, you know, when
film one.
when I saw Young Sherlock Holmes, obviously we watched that before.
We did
before Forbidden Worlds. But I watched it because of Forbidden Worlds, and I was like, the thing is that film feels like everyone should watch it. It should be like a corner, like a staple. Like it's made by Chris Columbus.
Very Harry Potter.
It's got Harry Potter vibes, and it doesn't have the J.K. Rowling connection to it anymore. But it's Sherlock Holmes stuff, which I love. So it's got the connection to British culture. It's fun. It's an adult enough. It's like a kid friendly film, which isn't.
It's a bit edgy.
And this film I think fits into that as well, which is this is a great film, which for the most part be a good family film. I could see like Megan would like this. I think this has got quite wide appeal, and I don't know why this hasn't. This isn't like a household film.
I've seen it because my friend Josh recommended it, and we watched it. We were sharing films when we lived together, and I this was one that I was like, this is brilliant. This is great. Really enjoyed it.
Really solid.
And Sam mentioned how much she loved it before we came.
And before Spirit.
Espas and Spirits back again. And I was like, it's an absolute banger. And I'm so glad when I came to see it today. Again, my worry is that I tell Mike it's really good, and then I turn up and he's like, this was dog shit. But look, I'm so glad I felt as invested and fully bought into the stories I did, and you did clearly.
Of today, this is my favorite film.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, it's a kind of a breeze as well. It's not too heavy. It's not too light.
It's so easy to watch.
It's kind of just you can stick it on. You could watch it on a nice Sunday afternoon, and it's not going to be too taxing.
And at home as well. Like there's certain films. which are going to be better on the big screen. But this one, obviously, it's fun on the big screen because it's some beautiful shots, but actually,
gorgeous.
At home, on DVD or whatever, it's just a real pleasant film.
It is. I think we'll end that one there.
Yeah,
we've got many more to do.
Yes, so because there's going to be, so as a reminder, it's going to be splitting between the feeds of Genuine Chits Chat and Spider-Dan the Secret Bores. We're aiming to do half and half on each feed. It's going to be on YouTube. There's going to be clips on social media. There's going to be the audio version on all kinds of places.
Verticals, whatever you call them.
We're tackling every film at the moment, apart from 2.
Yes.
There's only 2 movies that we're not tackling. One is Dragon Slayer, because
which we've done.
we literally did that on Disney Discussions. So try to remember to put a link in the. Well, it's the one which was the weird side of Disney.
Yes, yeah. So it's the films that Disney didn't want you to see.
Watcher in the Woods.
Yeah.
Something Wicked This Way Comes.
Yes,
and Dragon Slayer.
Yeah.
Which Dragon Slayer was my least favorite of the 3. But there are clips that have been released very recently of this film for Dragon Slayer stuff, which is great. But the other 3 films we're doing of today, day 1, is Legend of the 8 Samurai, which is from 1983, and that's a Japanese film. Clan of the Cave Bear, which is from 1986, and then Excalibur from 1981, which is one of the big movies. Excalibur, that and Highlander, I think, are the 2 biggest films being shown of this weekend. So stick around for that. Subscribe to both our feeds so you do not miss anything. We appreciate you, and we'll speak to you very soon.